Bill O'Reilly from BillO'Reilly.com has a new book coming out next week called Killing England. He'll be talking to us about that coming up in the next couple of appearances. But welcome to the program. Lots to discuss with Bill O'Reilly from BillO'Reilly.com. Bill.
Beck.
O'Reilly.
I'm standing by. What can I do for you?
I'm just wondering, were you at all disgusted by the game that was being played in Washington this week?
You know, I understand the game and have been at it so long that maybe I'm jaded because I understood exactly what was happening there. What I can't understand, let me ask you this, because you're much more impassioned about government spending than I am. I see the danger as you do, but I'm more of let's deal with a problem that we have to deal with today. Why do you think that the Democratic Party, almost 100% down the line, and the people who support the Democratic Party want a government that is heading toward bankruptcy and insolvency? Why do they want that?
I think they're looking. I think most of them are just so self-centered. They believe, much as many of the banks did in 2007, there's not going to be a collapse. We can play this game forever. We got it. They're bigger minds than us. Look, there's too much to lose. It's not going away. I think the majority of them feel that way. But I do believe there are those that see a reset coming and get it while you can and push it over the edge. And the reset will be, we can fix all these things.
Okay, but one more question on this. Philosophically, the Democratic Party has now basically said, we will spend as much of the taxpayers' money as we can spend. All right? We're not going to cut back. We're not going to save. We're not going to do anything. We're going to spend as much as we have. And we're going to tax people up to their eyebrows and make it very hard for people to live on a daily basis because so much is being taken out of their paychecks, and every time they turn around buying a gallon of gas, they got to pay a tax. Everything's taxed. So they want to weaken the individual back.
Yes.
Right? They want to weaken the individual American. They want the individual American to be weaker because money provides security and power. All right. Why? I've never gotten that philosophy. I've never figured that out.
Well, because they believe, Bill, in this this socialist utopia that doesn't exist, and they believe that they believe the people are not smart enough, and they believe that if they can take their money, they can redistribute it in a way that is much more fair. I mean, I don't know if I posted something that I had not read from Bill de Blasio. He said it, I think, a couple of years ago, and he was talking about how he wants this is a quote, a very, very large, powerful state, one that takes the land and the money, and they decide the best way to spend it and the best way to use that land. That's crazy. But he believes,
a communist.
Yeah, I know. He believes it'll actually work.
People, I live here, so I know. He'll never admit that he's a communist, but he is. So that's a fringe, crazy person, de Blasio. But
I don't know. I mean, you look at. Here's
the point. I don't believe that rank and file registered Democrats, and millions of them, right?
Yes.
My family was. All right, rank and file registered Democrats. I don't think that they know or understand that their party at this point in history wants them to be weaker, is eroding their personal power by saying, we're going to bankrupt the nation and fund every crazy thing that goes down. If they could, Beck, they pour trillions of dollars into global warming, whatever that may be. If the Democrats could do it, they'd do it. And they tax people even more to do it.
So can I ask you a question?
I never understood it. I never understood why. And I'm not a Republican, by the way. I'm an independent.
Well, can I ask you a question? I don't think there's that much of a difference. I mean, tell me, and there is on degrees, but not on direction. Tell me the people who are actually standing up for responsible spending and and getting the debt and deficit under control. Tell me who on the right is doing that, except the ones who are all being deemed. No, they're all being deemed as those are radical, crazy people that just want everybody to starve. No, they're not.
No, and I think that there are many Republicans who want to cut spending. I mean, I think that's fairly obvious because that's the battle that they fight every single day. But let's get to this week, and you're agitated about the raising the debt limit in the country. The reason that happened was because the Trump administration is in dire trouble. Okay, dire trouble. And the Trump administration needs to pass tax cuts, which will help individual Americans, obviously. And in order to have those tax cuts passed, or at least a shot of getting them approved, they had to get this debt thing off the table because these tax cuts have to be approved in the next 45 days. And if you had a brawl over the debt ceiling, that would make the passage of tax cuts less likely.
Do you really
That's
think
why Trump did what he did?
Do you really think that the GOP or this administration is prepared to cut tax to pass legislation on meaningful tax cuts in the next 45 days?
They have to.
Everyone I've talked to on Capitol Hill say there's no way that can happen. There's just no way. They're not even
prevailing wisdom. I know it's the prevailing wisdom that it's not going to happen because the mechanics are just too inefficient. All right. However, it's a brawl to assign the blame. So if Trump gets a bill, which he will, if he gets a bill and it says that corporate tax rates are cut to 15% and personal, there's just three brackets and tax filing is simplified. He presents the bill to the American public. And the American public says, yeah, we like that. That's good. We want that. Then the Democratic Party is weakened severely in the short term. Now, whether it gets passed or not, okay, but if the Democrats vote against it, then they're pretty much dooming themselves for next year's midterm elections. That's what's going on now. So it's brinkmanship. Bring the tax cut to the American people. And if the Democratic Party doesn't do it, then that party is going to be severely weakened. That's exactly what's happening.
It seems, like brinksmanship. To me, it looks like flailing. Because you started the conversation with why do the Democrats in Congress, not the average Democrat, but how come these guys just want to spend us into oblivion, et cetera, et cetera? Right. How are you going to get them, any of them, if that's your point of view of who they are? How do you get any of them to say, okay, we got to lower the corporate tax rate?
There are 6 Democrats that are running in red states for re-election next year. Trump will be able to peel off probably 3 or 4 of them to vote for the tax cuts. Okay? Now, I think McCain and a couple of other Republicans are going to sabotage Trump on the Republican side. So he's not going to get all the Republicans to vote for the tax cuts. There'll be some that won't. But I think the calculation is if we can get 4 Democratic senators to vote for it, then we can pass it. And I think that's what it's coming down to right now.
Bill O'Reilly from BillO'Reilly.com. Our conversation continues on Hillary Clinton and so much more in just a few minutes. Thank you so much for listening. Our thoughts and prayers are with you if you're in the Florida area or in the path of Irma. This storm is the size of Texas. It dwarfs Hurricane Andrew. It is remarkable. So Team Rubicon is already on this. We're watching Irma as well as the fires in California through Mercury One. City Impact, which is one of our partners for Mercury One, already has 10 semis of relief trucks They are in Palm Beach Gardens, Bradenton, and Miami already. Relief aid trucks are on the way. Additional, plus we have served 335,000 meals with Operation Barbecue in the last 9 days. That is in Houston and Victoria. They're on the ground in Beaumont as well, and we need to double our efforts now for Florida. We want to thank you so much for supporting this effort in any way that you do. If you would like to, you can donate to mercury1.org. All of the money goes directly to these organizations that are on the ground, and there's not a dime wasted. Mercury1.org, mercury1.org. Your thoughts on the hurricane bill?
Well, first of all, kudos to you, Beck. Not a lot of people doing what you do. And, it's very impressive, your organization, and how you're coast to coast. The fires are bad. The fires up in the Montana, Pacific Northwest, California, they're bad, and they're getting no attention because of the hurricane. So, anyway, kudos to you. You're using your power for good. The natural disaster situation is always going to be with us, always has been with us, and Americans are the most generous people on earth. You said it pretty eloquently in your monologue at the top of the program, that Americans take care of each other, and they do. But there is a role for the government to play. And, I think that I wrote a column for The Hill on Monday and said that the response to the hurricane in Texas, Harvey, was much better than the response to Katrina and Sandy. And it looks like Irma is organized as well. So why is that? What's the difference now to then? And that's an interesting question. So when people, say, oh, President Trump is this or that, and he blah, 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 blah. Well, look, under him, the federal organization is better. And there's no question about that. So, but you'll never hear that reported. You'll never hear that analyzed. And that just shows you, as you put it, the lies the media tells are endless. But
there's something to be said about the state of Texas is not the city of New Orleans. The state of Texas
right. Totally different mindset in Texas. Is that we'll solve our own problems, no doubt. There's no question about that. And in New Orleans, you've had generations of basic. Well, here's your house. Here's your food. Here's this. Here's that. And then all of a sudden, something hits, and people are going, "Well, wait a minute! I have to.
Where's my stuff
myself now?"
Yeah.
I mean, it's a mindset.
So, Bill, the one of the real problems, I think, is hurricanes are not getting worse. I mean, hurricanes happen, strong hurricanes, strong earthquakes, everything else. These things happen, but we don't build. Generally speaking, we try not to build huge cities on earthquake faults. Forget California. We look at things. If California was having an earthquake as often as we have hurricanes, we would never build anything around there. Yet we are now building huge cities right on the ocean that are prone to get hit by hurricanes. I'd like you to go into, should we rethink that whole thing of, you shouldn't be able to get insurance if you're going to build a giant apartment complex right in Miami. I don't know if we have insurance to cover that, at least from the taxpayers. Back in a second.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Bill O'Reilly, who has a new book out called Killing England that we'll get to next week. Really, really good book, and you need to read it. I mean, if you're into history at all, Bill O'Reilly is a great teacher. He was a history teacher for a while, and then he decided to inflict himself on all of America and became the legend that is Bill O'Reilly. Now you can see him 5 days a week on his own No Spin News at BillO'Reilly.com, BillO'Reilly.com. Bill, the question is, should the taxpayers have to pay for insurance for buildings that are clearly built in flood zones and hurricane paths when the market says I'm not going to, I can't keep my doors open if I insure this area. So no, why should the American people be on the hook for others, especially the rich, who want to build their houses right there in the path of hurricane after hurricane after hurricane?
Yeah, a lot of it's a state-by-state situation. In New York, you have to have insurance if you're near the ocean, and you have to buy FEMA insurance, which is much, much higher. The rates are really high, but you can't just buy and be uninsured for the very reason you're talking about. And a lot of states are like that. And I'm not an expert in this, but there are some.
The National Flood Insurance Program is now $25 billion in debt just from Sandy. Right. So at some point we have to say there's no money here for this.
Yeah, but you can't, because of our freedom, say you can't buy a house on this land.
No.
Whatever.
Right. I'm not. Wait. Hang on just a second. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just suggesting that at your own risk and at your own peril. I mean.
Yeah. I don't oppose that. Yeah. I mean, I don't want ridiculous situations. There's zoning in a lot of places that you can't do this. The environmental protection is very stringent, close to the water. So, look, I don't think that's a huge issue for the American taxpayer. I think that's probably a minuscule compared to the other fleecing that we're taking on a whole bunch of other issues, like disability fraud, which is the worst. That if you really want to look into how the American taxpayer is being conned and stolen from, take a look at the disability situation. That's a disgrace.
Bill O'Reilly, Bill O'Reilly, let me ask you switch back to politics here for a second. There are several deep conservative thinkers who say that what happened this weekend was Donald Trump took a hard turn to the left and turned towards Democrats. And one of the things they point to was he went up with Senator Heidi Heitkamp, who he said, is a good woman. They're great people. They work hard, blah, blah, blah. She has voted with the president 40% of the time, while Jeff Flake votes with the president 93% of the time. And the president is doing everything he can to get Jeff Flake out of there. And there's a real chance in Trump country up with Heidi Heitkamp that she's one of those people that's actually on the bubble and could be replaced. Why is he supporting?
Yeah, but I think the fix is already in, and that Heidi has already told Trump that she'll vote for the tax cut. So I think that's what's that all about. So he's got one Democrat. He needs four more. As for Flake, look, Trump's not ideological. So anybody assigning him a conservative or liberal bent is way out. He doesn't care about that. He's all about the deal, and that's what he says, and that's true. Now, the reason he doesn't like Flake is because Flake came out and wrote a book and went on the shows and said that Trump's incompetent. Okay? As soon as you say something like that about Trump, he's going to hate you. Yeah. And that's what's going on there.
I've heard that. Let me switch gears to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton has her book coming out. The Democrats don't want to hear from Hillary Clinton anymore. She has, this is an amazing stat. Her approval rating is lower than Donald Trump's approval rating.
I know.
I mean, she's at an approval rating of 30. That is almost impossible she has gone away. Trump is actually saying stuff, and her approval rating is still going down. And yet the media would have you believe that Hillary Clinton was such the obvious choice. With her being gone, her approval rating is still going down.
Keeps going down even. Look, the thing about Hillary Clinton is that she's not really a real person. This is just like one of these octagons. I've met her a few times, and I think the word bloodless is my best description of her.
Wow.
It doesn't seem to be any real humanity flowing out of that. And people know that's why she lost the election. They didn't trust her. They didn't like her. It wasn't about Trump. It was about her. But in the book, from what I understand, She blames a lot of her losses on sexism, and I've had it, Beck. I don't know about you, but I've had it with sexism, racism, homophobia. Had it, and as soon as I heard that, I go, I'm not reading a book. That disqualifies me from reading the book. That her excuse for losing the election is sexism. Come on. I mean, she got hammered by the press. I think that's fair to say, but not nearly to the extent that Trump did. So, Mrs. Clinton, I wish you a happy life. I'm sorry that it didn't work out for you in your quest for power. I thank God that you're not president of the United States. Every day of my life, I thank the deity. Okay, whether the deity is a man or a woman or something, I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
I'm on my knees saying thank you.
I'm willing to say,
and it's not ideological.
Vishnu.
I run a charitable foundation, as you do, and I looked into the Clinton Foundation.
Oh, I know.
And those people use that charitable foundation for their own benefit. And I don't think there's anything worse that you can do than take charitable concerns and turn it around to benefit yourself. And that's exactly what Hillary Clinton did.
I will say, too, on the sexism charge, the one truly big decision Hillary had to make, naming her VP, she picked a dude. So I don't know what that says, but it kind of seems odd that she'd call sexism. I'm concerned, though, Bill, because your book is coming out, Killing England. And it's going to be competing against Hillary Clinton's book,
and they buy warehouses of books.
Mm-hmm. Are you intimidated by Hillary?
First of all, the reason that she picked a dude for VP is because she was in her surfing mode that week.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
I should have known that.
Second of all, if you read Killing England and you compare the sacrifices and the bravery of Washington and the other patriots to Hillary Clinton, who was a step away from being president, you will be shocked at how George Washington and the other patriots conducted themselves compared to not only Hillary Clinton, but all modern-day politicians. What has happened? What has happened?
Bill, Hillary Clinton is advising the Democrats not to give the mantle over to Bernie Sanders, and you have a lot of Democrats. I mean, the Democratic Party is deeply split. There's Bernie is coming out with. I have to
stop you. I love Bernie Sanders. I love him. I think he's the greatest. I want him to have his own sitcom. The Bernie Hour, okay? I want Bernie.
He does. It's called the Larry David Show.
We should all be socialists like he is, and then he can take us to his palatial mansion in Vermont.
Right.
Okay, and then Jerry can be in the backyard, and we can all have a few laughs.
Right.
About the hucksterism from this guy from Brooklyn. I mean, he's about as much socialist as George Clooney. Okay, I mean, it's just insane. And people are buying it. The billionaires. Okay, Bernie, we heard it. It's funny. It's amusing. All right. But you're a loon. All right. You are a loon. You honeymooned in Moscow. Who does that? Putin didn't even honeymoon in Moscow. Okay? Putin went to Istanbul, where it was a little warmer. No one does that.
Right.
Stalin refused to honeymoon in Moscow.
I like how that's not a joke from Bill. He actually knows the location of Putin's honeymoon.
I know. But didn't de Blasio go and do something? He was with the Contras for a while. Didn't he also honeymoon in Cuba?
De Blasio went to Cuba.
Yeah, Cuba.
Yeah, de Blasio went to Cuba. Yeah. He went down there. I guess he couldn't afford the airfare over Moscow as Bernie did.
Well, I mean, Cuba is at least there's a beach in Cuba.
Yeah. But in order to go on the beach, you have to pledge allegiance to Fidel and Raul.
Right.
So there are qualifications for you to dip your toe in the ocean. But these guys just amuse the hell out of me. Anybody in America who thinks Bernie Sanders should be president of the United States, they should move to Cuba, okay? Go there or go to Venezuela. Go there, Okay? See how Bernie's system works. See it. Touch it. Feel it.
What do you have
I've been there. I've been to both countries.
What do you have coming up next? What do you have coming up next week, Bill, that you want to alert the audience on?
Well, we're Killing England is tied into this statue controversy where they're trying to, wipe out all the statues of everybody.
Yeah.
And I want everybody to read the book because then you'll have an argument. You'll have a debate. You'll know who Washington and Jefferson and Franklin were as men, okay, how they conducted themselves as people, not myths. Because I'm so fed up with this stuff, this PC madness. I am ripping, Beck. I am ripping. So I'm on a campaign next week to get the word out about Killing England, which will be out in the stores on September 19th. And we're going to tie it right into the PC madness in this country, and we're going to stop it. We're stopping it, Beck. We're going to have a telethon to stop it. No more PC telethon. Me, you, and that'll probably be it.
Bill O'Reilly from BillO'Reilly.com. He will be on Tuesday to tell us the story of his book, and it is a tremendous book. You can order it online now at BillO'Reilly.com.